Right now, above your head, a silent battle is already underway. No missiles, no explosions, no Star Wars-style dogfights. But satellites are being jammed, GPS is being spoofed, and cyber attacks are quietly taking systems offline. And most people have no idea it's even happening. This isn't science fiction. This is the new battlefield. 400 kilometers above Earth, and the war has already begun. Satellites are no longer just for weather or helping you navigate. They are now the invisible infrastructure behind modern warfare. They guide missiles. They enable global communications. They detect enemy movements and missile launches in real time. They are the nervous system of today's militaries, and they are being targeted every day. Let's start with one of the most common tools in this new kind of war: jamming. Jamming works by flooding a signal with noise, like shouting over someone until no one can hear. It's used to disrupt communications, block data from reaching satellites, or knock out GPS guidance. In war zones like Ukraine, Russian forces have actively jammed satellite-based internet and drone signals. Then there's spoofing. Spoofing doesn't jam the signal, it fakes it. It sends false GPS signals to receivers on the ground, tricking drones, vehicles, or weapons into thinking they're somewhere they're not. Now let's talk about cyber attacks. In February 2022, just 1 hour before Russia launched its full-scale invasion of Ukraine, satellite internet systems across Europe were suddenly knocked offline. A massive cyber attack struck Viasat's ground infrastructure, disrupting the communications used by Ukrainian forces. No explosions, just code. But the result was described as catastrophic. Then there's a more futuristic weapon: lasers. These aren't sci-fi beam weapons. They're ground-based laser systems that can temporarily blind a satellite's sensors, or, if strong enough, permanently damage them. If a satellite can't see, it can't spy. And no one has to blow anything up to make that happen. All of these are examples of non-kinetic warfare. Attacks that don't involve explosions or debris. They're subtle, deniable, and highly effective. That makes them perfect for modern conflict. The US Space Force has said that interference with space systems happens every single day. If key satellites go offline, entire militaries lose their edge. Smart weapons can't hit their targets. Troops can't coordinate. Missile warning systems might fail. The entire battlefield becomes more chaotic and more dangerous. Take GPS, for example. The US operates around 30 GPS satellites in medium Earth orbit. They don't just guide missiles and planes. They run logistics, timing systems, and navigation for both military and civilian users worldwide. Other countries like China, Russia, and the EU have built their own versions. These constellations are now potential military targets. And if this silent space war escalates into a kinetic one, where satellites are physically destroyed, the consequences could be far worse. That's because blowing up satellites creates space debris. In 2007, China used a missile to destroy one of its own satellites. The impact created more than 3,000 pieces of trackable debris. In 2021, Russia did the same, creating a cloud of debris that threatened the International Space Station. Some of that debris will stay in orbit for decades, and if these fragments start colliding with other satellites, it could trigger a chain reaction, what scientists call the Kessler syndrome. That's why the current focus is on disabling satellites without destroying them. But even that is becoming more advanced and more aggressive. In 2022, China's Shijian-21 satellite performed a complex maneuver in geostationary orbit, approached one of China's own defunct satellites, and pushed it into a graveyard orbit. It was described as a debris removal mission. But it also showed that China has the ability to physically move satellites in space. Meanwhile, Chinese military researchers have proposed placing a small explosive device inside the exhaust cone of an enemy satellite. It would just sit there, waiting, until the time was right. Russia has also raised eyebrows. In recent years, Russian satellites have approached US spy satellites in orbit, prompting formal protests from the United States. In one case, a Russian satellite even released an object into space. Russia says it was a peaceful test.
Ясна и прозрачна. Мы категорически всегда были против, и сейчас против размещения ядерного оружия в космосе.
While the US hasn't publicly admitted to offensive space weapons, it has said it has the capability to develop them.
About a new Russian military capability, specifically an anti-satellite capability with a nuclear component.
But when the US and Japan introduced a UN resolution reaffirming the nuclear ban in space, Russia vetoed it. The main international agreement that governs space activity is the Outer Space Treaty of 1967, which bans the placement of nuclear weapons in orbit. But it doesn't ban jammers, cyberattacks, or lasers. And now, even the nuclear part may be under threat. And if we don't find a way to manage this competition, space could become a permanent battlefield. Because war in space isn't coming. It's already here.